It started with a dinner. Just a casual wrap party dinner for the crew of their new drama project. Nothing suspicious. Nothing romantic. Just lights, laughter, and the scent of grilled seafood drifting in the night air. But Xiao Zhan noticed something. Something small. Something most people would have missed. Wang Yibo wasn't sitting beside him anymore. He had disappeared from the table nearly 20 minutes earlier. No one seemed to care. But Xiao Zhan did. Because before the wine bottles were uncorked and the cameras were turned off for the night, he had seen Wang Yibo glance at someone across the room. And that someone was Shen Yue. She had smiled. Not politely. Not like a co-star. But like someone who knew a secret the rest of the table didn't. Xiao Zhan had known her long enough to read her expressions. This one was different. Playful. Slightly cruel. Like she knew what she was about to do, and didn't care who got hurt. Xiao Zhan stood from the table. Said he needed fresh air. But he wasn't going outside. He followed the hallway instead. The one behind the kitchen. Where the lights were dimmer. And the silence was thicker. He turned a corner just in time to see it. Wang Yibo's back pressed against the wall. Shen Yue in front of him. Their faces were inches apart. She whispered something. And he smiled. Then her hand slid up his chest. Xiao Zhan froze. It felt like everything inside him stopped moving. He didn't yell. Didn't walk away either. He stood there and watched. Like a man caught in a nightmare that wouldn't let him wake up. And then it happened. Wang Yibo leaned in. And kissed her. Not a mistake. Not a dare. But the kind of kiss you give when you think no one is watching. Shen Yue placed her hand behind his neck. And they stayed like that. Too long. Too familiar. Too comfortable. And Xiao Zhan knew. This wasn't new. This had been happening. It was already real. And he had been the fool standing outside the door the whole time. When Wang Yibo finally looked up, he saw him. Xiao Zhan standing there in the dark. Expression unreadable. Hands clenched. Eyes glassy. Wang Yibo stepped back. It's not what it looks like. That's what he said. And Shen Yue didn't even flinch. She just crossed her arms and smirked. It's exactly what it looks like. That was her response. Xiao Zhan didn't speak. He turned around. And walked. Not fast. Not slow. Just enough to keep the scream from bursting out of his throat. He went back to the table. Sat down. Poured himself another glass. And drank it in one breath. No one noticed his silence. Except one person. The assistant director who had followed him earlier to ask a question. He leaned in and whispered. Are you okay? Xiao Zhan looked at him and said. I think I just lost 2 people. I thought I knew. The assistant director nodded slowly. Like he understood more than he let on. But no one knew how far the damage would go. Because that was just the beginning. The next morning, a private video was leaked. Taken on someone's phone from behind the hallway door. The kiss. The whisper. The moment Xiao Zhan saw them. It was all there. The internet exploded. Xiao Zhan fans were furious. Shen Yue trended for all the wrong reasons. Wang Yibo's silence only made it worse. Because he didn't deny it. He didn't explain it. He disappeared. And in that silence, Xiao Zhan made a move no one expected. He went live. No warning. No setup. Just his face. And one sentence. Sometimes people don't cheat because they found something better. They cheat because they never deserved what they already had. Then he ended the stream. And left his fans in chaos. Thousands of comments. Millions of shares. And a storm that refused to die down. Wang Yibo posted a single message. Mistakes happen. But private matters should stay private. The backlash was instant. So you call betrayal a mistake now? That was the top comment. Shen Yue said nothing. For days. Until she finally posted a black and white selfie with the caption. If you knew the full story, you wouldn't judge me. That only made it worse. Because the fans didn't want explanations. They wanted accountability. And Xiao Zhan gave them something else. A screenshot. Of a message he had sent to Wang Yibo months ago. I trust you with everything. Even with her. Don't make me regret that. No response was shown. And that silence said more than words ever could. People began piecing it together. Shen Yue had worked with both of them for nearly a year. Always the middle ground. Always friendly. But now people saw the signs. The extra smiles during interviews. The way she stood a little too close to Yibo behind the scenes. The way he always defended her jokes. It had been building right under Xiao Zhan's nose. And now he was the one left standing in the wreckage. Except he didn't stay there. He flew out of the country, booked a last-minute ticket to Japan, and disappeared from the radar for a week. Paparazzi caught one photo of him at a quiet temple outside Kyoto. Alone, wearing black, head bowed. The caption read, "Man who trusted too much now healing in silence." And back home, Wang Yibo and Shen Yue were seen dining together, smiling, laughing, trying to pretend the fire wasn't still burning behind them. But the fans didn't forget, and neither did Xiao Zhan, because, when he returned, he came back with a script, one he wrote himself. A love story about betrayal, about two faces in a hallway, about a man who loved too deeply. He announced he would direct it too. And when asked at the press conference what inspired the story, he said, "Real life always writes better fiction than I can." But the silence didn't last. Not when betrayal this loud had already been heard around the world. What the world didn't know yet was what happened the night after the leak. The night when Shen Yue showed up at Xiao Zhan's apartment. Uninvited, unannounced, and completely unprepared for what she was about to face. She wore a hoodie pulled over her head. No makeup, no smile, just swollen eyes and a trembling lip. She knocked once, and again. No answer. But the door opened anyway. He had seen her on the security camera, and he didn't say a word when he let her in. The air was ice, not from the temperature, but from the weight of everything unspoken between them. She tried to speak, but he raised a hand. "Let me go first." That's all he said. She nodded, and stood still like a child who had been caught stealing the only thing that mattered. He walked over to his living room shelf, pulled out an old notebook, opened to the first page, and read it out loud. "I hope this project brings us closer. Not because we'll be working together, but because I've always seen something in you that felt real." He looked up at her. "Do you remember who wrote that?" She swallowed. "Yes, it was me." He nodded. "Do you still mean it?" She shook her head. I don't know. I don't know what's real anymore." He closed the notebook and set it down. "Then why did you come here?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. He waited. The silence burned deeper than her tears. Finally, she whispered, "Because I couldn't sleep without saying sorry." He turned away. "That's not sorry. That's guilt. And they're not the same thing." Her knees gave out, and she sat on the floor. She buried her face in her hands. And for the first time since the leak, Shen Yue truly broke. Not online. Not in a carefully filtered photo. But in raw silence. In the home of the man she betrayed. He watched her for a moment, then walked to the door. "It's late. You should go." She looked up at him, eyes red, voice shaking. "Do you hate me?"